Hi, I'm Don Drake, and this is the Sketchy GM, where I work to dispel the fog of words in TTRPG prep. I use visual planning techniques that allow the shape of my notes to deliver multi-layered reminders of my game plan. So join me as I work to improve my DMing while having more fun creating and using notes that prompt my memory at a glance. So one of the major goals in mapping this way for me is to capture ideas for later. Because my ideas come whenever they come, in 3 months, they're lost if I don't have some way to recover them. This is a map I made a while. We were about 9 months of almost weekly play into a campaign that I was inventing on the fly. And I finally realized I got a lot going on. I need some idea what the world is like and what the factors are. So I sat down and made this. This was the revelatory map for me. When I did this and realized what it was doing for me, that's when I decided, okay, mind maps are the thing. I'm sticking with this. Why is nobody else doing this? Because I can't be the only person who's like I am. Anyway, what this session is right now, it's a test of some of my concepts. I'm supposed to be able to look at this map and recapture thinking that I had months ago and haven't thought about since. I need to see if I can reconstitute those ideas so I can use them in the game. So what do we got here? This is Gila. They are preparing to wage a war. They have a mage army. These people are magically controlled by the leader. They're locked into his mage army by memory theft. If they can recover their memories, they will become independent, but they are not right now. Tull is providing air machines for the army. Eampdon, who is from the island nation far to the east, as mercenaries. They're going to contribute. They're going to be Air Force, Land Force, and Arcane Force. Okay, so somehow Forzar controls the magic. The only magic users in his realm are his mage army. So I'm not sure what's happening here. Maybe that won't happen. Thibor is the enemy. These are actually the goals of Zarathrax. These goals, because he is waging war against Thibor and Voldkeep by proxy. He's influencing Forzar's dreams and causing him to believe that this is an enemy, and so he's sending them to fight here. Okay, so that's all good. Disrupt Thibor. Yeah, that's basically what this says. That's pretty basic stuff. I know that about the game even without looking at this map, but I know it in a little more detail now because I remember these factors which haven't come into the game yet. So this geographically, Gila is in the center. That's why I drew that there. Geographically, Thibor and Voldkeep are in the south, in the mountains. And that's why this is drawn there. In the same way, let's see, this is stuff related to, what's the name of that place? I don't see the name written up there. Arborith. Is that right? Yeah, Arborith. And this is Eampdon. This is the future. This is some wild area. So these are roughly geographically placed, and this is Candlekeep. This was one of the things, we'll go over here. This was one of the things got added to this map that hadn't been in the gameplay, but I realized as I was kind of mapping this out, I needed information flow. The players were really at sea. They knew a few local situations were happening here, but they didn't. I talked to the players and they felt like the goals were too big for their characters and they just did not feel up to the task. So I started trying to get them more information about what's going on and better allies. And that's where Candlekeep came in. Candlekeep, of course, is the library setting that Wizards of the Coast published. So at Candlekeep, they can get information for Thibor. So Thibor is sending people across to Candlekeep to get information to accomplish her goals, which are magical. Zarathrax has agents that are blocking her. Candlekeep can explain the dynamics of Zarathrax and Antonius to the players. Basically, Zarathrax is a demon who was being summoned by Antonius, but the ritual failed. Zarathrax was able to psychically take over Antonius's body. However, Zarathrax's body is still stuck in one of the 9 hells in a coma. So he's running around kind of Waldoing Antonius, and all that can be explained to the characters by sages at Candlekeep. They can also explain Forzar's mage army and the memory trick. They can explain elemental corruption. I think this is a little vague. So I think what's going on is this is a side effect of what Zarathrax is doing. It's like his plan B or phase 2. He is waging this war and slowing Ebor down so he can accumulate enough magical capital in the bank to open this realm in and make it the 10th hell. And it's going to take him 1 year. Now is where all this is happening. In 1 year, his plans say this is going to happen. And he's got to slow Ebor down. She's trying to stop this, or she's doing something that would inhibit this. They can expose this plan. This is not all of this is knowledge they have ready at hand at Candlekeep, but the players can go and induce them to do research, or the players can go on quests and gather information to help the sages at Candlekeep arrive at the right conclusions, the conclusions the players need, the characters need, so they can stop this plan. Master Archivist, 80-year project. I'm not sure what that was. Oh, Zarathrax has spies at Candlekeep. He's trying to stop information from getting to Thebor, and he has spies. That's a good idea for when the players go over here. Not all of this will get used, obviously, and most of this is not really fleshed out. It's just little idea kernels that I thought, oh, I could work with that. And I'm going to say, I haven't covered this whole map, but I'm going to say this technique of mapping like this is working great because I'm recapturing all kinds of detail that I didn't have before. And I'm thinking about this. The characters are currently traveling from a place just south of Gila to Candlekeep to discuss matters with an expert in demonology, researchers in the land seeking details. This is a way to inject random information into the world from Candlekeep. There's researchers traveling out to do projects, and they're available in the landscape for people to have characters to have encounters with. And that's exactly why they're traveling here now. So this, which didn't exist until I drew this map and went, how do we get info out of here into the world? So the players are, yes, they met a guy. Let's look at the final. This is the end of game here. A dimensional ritual at Owl's Keep. Owl's Keep. I'm not sure where that is. Bring Essence, bring Elefrin, bring Antonius, bring Alara. These are all NPCs. This is a magical resource that Zarathrax is making. Destroy Forzar's line, karmic scene. Yeah, so this is like destined retribution, mages, defensive keep. This is pretty sketchy in here. Completely transformed for ritual space. So I actually was trying to roughly sketch out the ritual, the components that would be necessary for the ritual, the processes that would happen. These Owl's Keep might be the place. This is the Keep of Gila. We'll call it Castle of Gila. I've forgotten where that was. So I was going to have the final scene happen in Gila. That's what I was proposing. So this makes more sense now knowing that. So Zarathrax or his agents will bring these magical resources to Owl's Keep. As part of the ritual, he's going to destroy his ally who has been influenced through his dreams to aid Zarathrax all these many, many years. And Forzar is currently the enemy of the players. He's their primary enemy. His daughter is an evil person, was the instigator of this entire campaign in one scene. So this is like payback to their enemy, but in service of another enemy's goals. So this is potentially a really cool scene where the players get something they really want, but it serves somebody they really can't allow to succeed. The mages are protecting there's a defense of the keep. This makes sense now. The keep's completely transformed for the ritual. It's even in a different space. I have a little interdimensional stuff's going on with the ethereal plane. That makes sense. Essence of Elefrin, Antonius of Lara. Okay, so the souls that we collect from these guys are important in the ritual, and that generates the 10th hell. So, okay, a lot of stuff there. Way at the end of the game. Oh, and the magical essence that's required has to be transported. There's a lot of ways for the players to interact with all of these activities which are feeding into this, and so they could potentially stop this ritual early. All right, let's take this little note off. What is this? Forzar asks, how did you come here? Thought this remained a secret and inaccessible. Eampdon, ethereal anchor, site of dream powers for as Antonius, Zarathrax, and Forzar. How to convey its physical place. Stand in dream stream and interlope. Okay, so these are some notes about a city called Eampdon, which is down here to the southwest of Gila. Eampdon is a dead city. This is a haunted place. In the way back times, there was a catastrophe, the catastrophe that set the parameters for this conflict that's going on, but it all happened before the players came on the scene. So they're walking into the second act of a great drama. And this is potentially a place of interaction between the players and the three primary antagonists, two of them being the couple, Antonius and Zarathrax, the mage who failed to bring the demon, and the demon spirit who now controls the mage, and Forzar, who is psychically being controlled by the demon, not directly, but through his dreams. So those are three people the characters might want to meet, have arguments with, confront. This is the place where it could happen. That was my decision. But I have a lot of locations in here, and I have not been successful in general so far in getting the characters to travel around this world. This was a place where I'm still developing as a DM. I seem to be presenting too many options to my players. The options often aren't scaled to what they think they can deal with, and they don't feel a motivation to pursue a lot of them. So they'll stay local and deal with small issues rather than expanding the game space out to all the places that I've revealed to them. I am coming to understand why they do that. I can feel it a little bit more instead of, talking about Arborith, the fairy kingdom, or Bold Keep, the mountain keep of Thebor and her tragic and noble struggle to repair the magical damage that her father did. Those are just stories to them. They're not going to go travel to these faraway realms. They don't have a reason to. And for a long time, I was feeling like, hey, I mentioned these places. They should want to go there. It's not happening. Eampdon is a place like that. So I don't know. These things could happen somewhere else. I can drop this. It's not come up yet. I've mentioned it, but really it would be pretty easy to just make this not a part of the game. But what do I have here? This is where Antonius came from. This is where Antonius performed the ritual that ended up in Zarathrax's situation and ownership of his body. So Antonius's journals are here. How to control Zarathrax, dangerous, ethereal anchor. Okay, I'm using the ethereal plane in my own way in this game. It's a place that the players can walk through. They can use it for travel, double speed travel, but it is dangerous. There are entities there that will try and kill you. It is a conduit for psychic intrusion. The ethereal paths is what kind of how I'm phrasing things. The ethereal paths are conduits for Zarathrax, Antonius's dream intrusions into Forzar's mind. They can send little dream packets down this, and the players have the opportunity to stand in the path of these dream packets and tap into them. Would that disrupt them, or I don't know what would happen? Would people know they did that? That's just an idea. I have no idea what that would be like. But I had the notion that this was like central dispatch for ethereal path communications, that wherever Antonius Zarathrax is, if they send psychic packets through the ethereal paths, it'll come here and be routed to wherever. I don't know. Not sure why it was. Oh, City of Arches info, because Mike Shea, the lazy DM, he just published City of Arches. Part of the lore, the backstory lore of what was happening was, I can never remember the name of the city. Arborith is a fairy city, and Bold Keep was the mountain keep. They were going to open portals to distant and magical places to create a conduit of commerce, magic, and all good things in this area here. And Gila is going to be in the center of it. The two rituals were disrupted because Antonius was already under the sway of Zarathrax, even though he hadn't yet been taken over. So at some point along, and he was a great mage, and he was advising these two cities on how to set their rituals up to open these portals. This one to a great city in the Feywild. This one was going to open to the City of Arches. And this was kind of a late addition. I didn't start the game knowing anything about the City of Arches. So what happened is Zarathrax managed to corrupt both these things. This ritual failed completely. It's now an open zone of magical chaos with all kinds of weird incursions of magic into the land. The leader, I can't remember his name, Elrin or something like that. He was killed or disabled, and in the attempt, his daughter has ever since been trying to close the rift or repair the damage he did. And this up here got corrupted. These people in Arborith got trapped by some contracts and now are performing a human sacrifice or sentient sacrifice, which produces a magical essence, which Zarathrax requires as fuel to fuel his activities here, because his body's not here. He's limited. He's only working through a proxy. This complicated enough for you? I'm theming the activity down here as corrupted bugs and nature stuff. I have some nice bug minis and stuff that I really like. Trying to figure out a way to get to use them. So where was I? That's all happening down here. Am I going to send the characters down here? I don't know. I kind of like the idea of the location. It was developed as a location based on an image I saw on the internet. Nice underground city ruin. It was really kind of cool with a waterfall running through it. And it just fired me off. I thought, oh, I want that place. All these elements, informational elements, game plot elements, could be redistributed out in the world. I don't have to have Eampdon. We'll see. The pressure's mounting. Zarathrax. Oh, I just looked at this, and why is this happening? And this map is working so well for me. I'm remembering massive amounts of detail. I have tons of flexibility in what I can do with this. Anytime I'm realizing, anytime I want to know what the characters might do next, or what options I can put in front of them, this map is just a cornucopia of ideas. So Zarathrax, he's got a year left. He's been doing this for 40 years, 50 years. Things are coming to a close. He needs more of that magical essence created by the sacrifices to finish this job. He is getting a sense of urgency. This has to finish soon, or events are going to spin out of control. He's pressuring this Face City to ramp up their sacrifices, their murders, ritual murders, to create the essence that he needs to fuel this stuff. So there are increasing raids for victims, and there's internal unrest in Arboreth and in the surrounding territories, and there are refugees who are now dispersing out into the lands of Gila, the area of Willow Lake where the characters have built a cabin for themselves, and to the open lands in between. So this little section is kind of a causal chain that leads to NPCs and potential quests for the characters, which they could backtrack into the knowledge of what's going on there. So now I have two ways for the characters to get information about what is happening, and most critically, that this essence exists, that is being stored and stockpiled somewhere, and that if they can destroy it, Zarathrax will fail. That was a really good section up there. What is this? Portion of dark... Oh, this was a little something. There's Arboreth right there. Okay, this is a failure of my sketch. There needs to be emphasis on this so you can find these places. Here's Gila right here. I need to be able to spot these things. This will make this a little darker. This is one key to these maps, especially when they get pretty big, a way to organize them and draw the eye to different places. Eampdon's pretty well highlighted. I missed the name of that a couple of times. I didn't see it there. I know this is Woldkeep, but here's the name right here. It looks to me like when I started this map, I had drawn Gila, Arboreth, Eampdon, and Woldkeep, and all this other stuff was stuff I didn't know before I drew the map. Okay, I'm crazy. Let's see if there's anything useful up here. I don't remember what this is. Principles of these magic helper give till they are consumed. So minions, it's not good to be a minion up here. Candlekeep agents, internal and external. Okay, so this is a source. This looks like the center of Antonius and Zarathrax's realm. I had the players met Antonius early on. He had made himself very tiny, and he was hiding in an ant colony. And that's where I got the bug idea, corrupted bugs and stuff. So that's been his base of operation, is from an ant colony. And the players got shrunk down, and they went in there and they met him while they were doing a small quest for a shepherd woman and her ne'er-do-well husband. Arboreth diplomats, refugee snatchers, agents, and Woldkeep saboteurs. Okay, so these are all people that Zarathrax, Antonius, are sending out into the world, recruiting them and sending them out to Woldkeep to capture these people as diplomats to drive this process of a sentient sacrifice Antonius, gate for present action. Okay, so this is gateway, is I guess what I'm saying. Z must keep alive, keep cognition intact. So apparently I was thinking Zarathrax needs Antonius's mind and body. Certainly he needs his body because he's stuck in the 9 hells. He's only able to do this stuff psychically because Antonius tried to summon him and control him. But he got the upper hand and has established this kind of uneasy balance. Body and soul needed. Yes. Okay. And I'm saying Zarathrax needs Antonius's soul to feed into this mess, or maybe to actually his knowledge to create the ritual. I don't know what I'm thinking there, but I can invent this later if we get to this stage. The point I'm seeing here, that the project, deity, elemental corruption, making staff for later destabilize other random locations. Okay, so this is things that Zarathrax is doing. He's got some croakers that the characters have met. He's kind of disrupted their way of life and suborned some of them. So there's kind of a faction in the croakers that are now beholden to Zarathrax. Kind of what I'm thinking here with this stuff is the players' activities are, they've met Antonius twice, and Antonius has scryed on them also. And the players have joined with some rebels in Gila and have done some sabotage to slow down the war efforts. So I'm thinking Antonius, he's coming to his deadline. He's seeing some signs in the world that opposition may be increasing to his plans, especially the players. For some reason, I might need to justify this a little bit in the game if I'm going to make it a real thing. Players particularly have him worried. Could be for a prophetic reason. Could be for a reason they're not aware of, but he, as an ancient magic user and writer of evil contracts, recognizes the confluence of skills and motivations in them that makes him take them as a serious threat, although they don't feel like a serious threat to themselves. So he's doing more things. He's bringing some imps in. He's corrupting elementals. Everything he does magically like that costs essence. So these activities are slowing down this goal because they're consuming the one indispensable component. And so that's why he's increasing the pressure for ritual sacrifice, which I see as a feedback loop. As that stuff increases in the world, the players are going to get involved more with that and resist him more. He's going to need to spend more of the essence. And we're in a ramping up spiral where the enemy becomes more and more desperate and takes more and more radical action in the world to push their agenda. And this draws the attention of more and more opposition, requiring more ramping up and more opposition. I like that. That feels good. I mean, I'm captured this. Okay, sheet here. So Z, and we'll call it ZA, is 1 year goal. Okay, but C, opposition. These are activities. Okay, so we have activities. This is a very bad map here right now. We have activities toward 1 year goal. Draw attention. See opposition, increase activities. How you spell activities. Spelling is not a thing. Activities, draw more attention. See more opposition, and then we go right back here. Escalation spiral. Okay, that's a pretty bad map. But I think activities toward one-year goal. Draw attention, see opposition. Increase activities, draw more attention, see more opposition. Escalation path. I think this makes sense. That captures what I would like to say is the accelerating spiral to conclusion. Okay? And this is ACGC. A change is going to come. That's the name of the campaign. So that actually is new information. It gives me a concept for how to organize the push to the conclusion and how I would like to ramp up the tension. The players can only be in one place at a time. So probably what's going to have to happen is they're going to be accumulating allies at different places, and they'll be running from fire to fire, which has a dual, let's see, okay, draw more attention. Yeah, well, we'll see how this plays out. This is just an early concept. That all came from reviewing something that is really peripheral to the gameplay. Listen, do the enemies have a base? Are they still in an anthill? Have they moved to somewhere else? Are they mobile? None of that really matters. I don't know. There's no evidence for any particular idea in the game. But while looking at it, it sprung out this core idea of how to move forward with the game. An alternative, we can think about alternatives because now we have a basis for pushing against. We could just make the players slowly accumulate a picture of the plans of Zarathrax Antonius so that they focus in here and they funnel down to disrupting this final ritual. And they could always, every move the players make, they could be one step behind so they never can effectively prevent these things. This would be a game like, we could go on this pattern, Z, A, take a step, okay? PCs, here, a rumor. We'll do a solid plan to disrupt, fail, next step, rumor, next, and eventually grand ritual, showdown, PCs here, grand ritual here, showdown. Okay, so we just go through a series of steps where the players try and stop these things, but keep failing. I don't like that as much. The players aren't going to like to fail, and I can give them successes. You know, the capture of the rumor can be a success. The plan to disrupt they can have successes, but ultimately the resources gained and the plan moves forward. So it could work without making the players feel really bad. But I actually like this concept better of this. Yes, and actually, it's hard to say because what would happen here, this all depends on my ability to DM, right? A limited ability. I got a lot of potential, a lot of ideas. I don't have the skills to back it up all the time. The players have fun. I have fun. But many, I'd say virtually every time, my aspirations are far beyond what I can actually accomplish. But hey, we try and learn these things. So the risk I see with this is a bit chaotic, and I see this spiral also as a fragmentation. So the players are existing in this world where more and more smaller and smaller things seem to be happening. So don't fragment to smaller and smaller grains. Note to self. So this is ACGC, and this is general process toward ritual. So I think these are both good ideas. This gives me, a little bit of a framework in the game. It keep the players focused on critical steps the enemies are making if we use Candlekeep or other sources of information to help the players understand what is happening and why it's happening, if they can get a bead on this and start explaining all the events in the world to themselves in these terms. Yeah, okay. Players must understand ZA's goals, steps, ritual to 10th hell, steps to ritual, value, and nature of components. Explain world events from framework of the phase goal. Okay. So that's what I want to do. This is a way to drive the game forward, a way to organize the action, to help give me a framework for what kind of question these characters go on. What do I want to make available to them? This is another way of driving action forward and formatting what I offer to the players and how I structure the quests. But this is what I have to do as a DM. This is my goal. I have to make it so the players understand Zarathrac's goals, the ritual, and the inception of the 10th hell. I have to help them understand what the ritual steps are, and I have to make them understand the value and the nature of the components. So they really need to get into ZA's head and learn what their plan is, learn what they're doing, learn why they're doing it. And they have to start looking at this world strictly in terms of this. It's the most important thing in the world. Okay, so my original question here was, I'm spending more and more time making these maps and making them for different purposes. Is it working? Is it helping me reclaim lost ideas? The answer is hell yeah, big time. I mean, I understand everything on this map. Additionally, there's still fruit to be harvested here. There's new ideas. There's places I can spin things off. There's elements for encounters. There's a ton of flexibility. I still see the ability to wipe out entire chunks of this thing, but I have lists of pieces that I would like to spread back into the game if I do that. Even more important than that is interacting with this thing again, coming back to it after several months. This is at least 2 months old, I think. And I knew that it existed this whole time, but I did not know the details of what was in it, only the rough outlines of what applies to the game right now. But interacting with it, I have now been able to come up with a larger plan for how to conduct this campaign. Actually, what I'm supposed to be doing as a storyteller and organizer. And I have a couple of specific ideas of what the players will experience in this world and what kinds of quests to offer them that will drive this game to a conclusion. That's really unprecedented. I gotta say, I've never had anything in this detail to work from before. And I'll say, in keeping with the Lazy DM's philosophy, focus on the next session and keep things loose. Don't spend a lot of time planning what you don't need to run. This stuff is very loose. And there's no detail beyond what you see here. There's no set path for the players. They could go anywhere, do anything virtually. Their next session, I do know, is in the space between these. They're traveling. But having looked at this, I realize Zarathrac's has agents out here. They're set up. They're watching for people from Old Keep and trying to prevent them from getting information here. They may be in a position to spot the players, so I'll have to give that a little bit of thought. When they get to Candlekeep, they could potentially run into Zarathrac's spies, and they're specifically going to meet a guy who knows about demon magic. He worked in a circus. He used to raise minor demons as part of the entertainments. He lost track. He lost control of one, very much like Antonius lost control of Zarathrax. And so he's an expert on what's going on. These spies would probably be keeping an eye on that guy. They may have even tried to assassinate him. It's interesting to me the way these maps generate new ideas, the way they reveal gaps in the story components where there's no, it's like a place exists, but and the things that are happening there exist, but the reasons for why those are happening in this world don't exist. The little motivational parts. I have a sense of the motivation for everything that's happening here. I don't know, a lot of people obviously can do this in text. I can't. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. Or that's certainly long enough on that. I got some new useful stuff. And I will now, I was talking about the lazy DM and his philosophies. Do I have another point there? No railroading, focus on the next session. That's true, but I have other goals. That's just one way of approaching DMing. I do love the idea of creating a world and a story in that world. That surely is obvious, where this stuff just springs up bit by bit. And my goal is to learn how to make this experience that I have, which I really enjoy, of watching this world and the story emerge from nothing. How do I reproduce that experience for my players? That's what I would like to do. My skills are far, far from adequate to that job, but I can learn. And every time I touch these ideas with these tools, I feel closer to my goal, even though all this is behind the curtain stuff. On stage stuff, yeah, I have some limitations. My skills are shaky, so I'm fighting this war on two fronts. But you can't have the on-stage be successful, or I can't have the on-stage be successful if I don't have the scrims painted properly and the stage setting ready and the blocking on the stage taped so I can set things up and introduce my characters into the play. So I have to have this back stuff. And besides, I find this tremendously enjoyable. I really like seeing these things just appear out of thin air. Yeah, success for this one. I was long. Thanks for listening.